Plus the live video feed. It's the JoePags Show. Glad to have you here. Really glad to have this young lady back. It's Jessica Custodio from campusreform.org. Always appreciate having you on. Jessica, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's always an absolute pleasure. Now, the young reporters over at campusreform.org do an amazing job. They're out there getting the job done like the big media can't, and they're uncovering stories that are happening on college and university campuses that you probably don't know are happening, and it makes your face hurt every time. Well, Jessica, we appreciate you making our face hurt. Thank you. It's the job, right? You have to bring the news.
Yeah.
All right. The Twitter account is Jess _Custodio. Go follow her on Twitter. She's a great follow. And again, go follow Campus Reform as well. Let me start where I always like to start with you young guys over on campus. You're at SUNY Dutchess, which is the State University of New York, is the system. But you aren't going to school, right? You're doing it all online still?
Right. So all of the SUNY system schools are online right now that I know of. And there are forms that you have to fill out if you do want to go on campus. But I don't really see too many people going on campus right now, just because I know there's mask mandates and not too many people are actually in person on the SUNY campuses.
But you're young, you're hip, you're happening. You want to see people, don't you? I mean, what is it like to not see your friends, to not go and just mingle with people, not to have a face-to-face, conversation with a professor? It's a different world, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And as young people, we love to, just interact, grab a coffee together.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to just be over the computer. And it is easy to, have class over the computer, but it's different when you're actually in person and you're talking to people and just having a great time, because it is an experience. So it is kind of sad to have to experience it online.
Have you seen any of those like Zoom calls where one of your classmates is naked or something? Because for some reason they can't figure out there's a camera on them. One girl went to the bathroom on the Zoom. People are hiding under their covers in their bed. What's the nuttiest thing you've seen there? Anything?
Well, I have seen some people, in pajamas, having food. I haven't seen anyone, without clothing, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
I'm with you. Listen, I was young once
Yeah.
too, and sometimes you don't consider your surroundings. All right, it's Jessica Custodio. Go to campusreform.org. Let's get into these stories. Oregon State has a new special therapist position. I guess it's a paid position at a state university that the taxpayers are paying for. What is this therapist going to do?
Right. So Oregon State University announced this new position, but the catch is it's for Black students only, apparently. And when they announced this position, it was more of a student felt that the former president's speech about George Floyd wasn't good enough. So they used the oppression card, as they always do, to get what they want. And this is how the position was created.
So it's a paid position. You know how much it's going to probably six figures, no, for a therapist on campus?
Yeah, probably. We don't know the exact number, but being a psychiatrist, it's probably going to be up there.
So if because I'm lily white, although I'm olive, I'm Southern Italian, so maybe olive is more appropriate. If I go and say, man, I'm really having a bad day, I'm depressed, I'm feeling racial oppression, if I go to this person, I'm not allowed to get therapy from him or her.
Right, I guess not. I just wish the schools understood that all students have stress.
Yes.
All students have stuff going on. It's not just one color of student. And I think that's pretty crazy to say, only Black students need a therapist, not anyone else. So I guess they're dividing on that now.
Well, that's the thing. And this will be my opinion. I'm not asking you because I know you guys as journalists, it's hard to go from opinion to journalism. But the fact is, we are resegregating our society. He said, resegregating. We're actually saying segregation somehow was good as long as it's on our rules. When we were segregated as a country back in the day, the Republicans, the conservatives, they fought as hard as they could against Democrats and liberals to resegregate or desegregate our society, to make it go away, to say, I was bused an hour each way to my middle school, actually to my high school, because we had to go to a neighborhood where we'd have an equal number of Black students, which I loved. I had plenty of Black friends. It was great. But that's what we did as a country. Let's not segregate. Let's not divide. Let's unify. Right. And literally on campus, Jessica, we're seeing story after story. It's got to be a Blacks-only dormitory. It's got to be a Blacks-only therapist now. How are we not going exactly backward? It's what it seems like to me.
Right, and we definitely are. And at the Leadership Institute's campus reform, I'm sure you've seen all of these stories where they want to go back to Black student housing, Black student everything. And also, they're just getting angry when the other students are coming in. So it really is going back, and they don't seem to have a problem with it at all.
I mean, they forget that their mothers, fathers, grandparents fought to get rid of this, and now they're fighting to get it back. It's so strange. It's Jessica Custodio. Go follow her, Jess, 2_ Custodio on Twitter, and give her a follow. Also, go follow campusreform.org. Cuomo's college closures. New York governor throws a wrench in campus COVID plans. It's a great headline. I don't really know what the story is. Fill me in.
Right. So Andrew Cuomo, who was also my governor, actually has come up with a new restriction where he said that if any college campus in the entire state of New York has 100 or more cases of coronavirus, they will be required to do a 2-week online course again.
Let me ask you a dumb question. Because, again, you and I talked about this before we started. You actually think I'm kind of dumb, and I agree with you. It's a dumb question. If 99 have it, everybody's good.
I guess so.
But if 100 have it, that's it.
Right, exactly.
What?
The other thing with Andrew Cuomo is he's going after these crowds of students, but he's not going after the crowds of rioters, of violent protests in the streets of New York City. He's not going after that, but he wants to go after college students who, by the way, have an extremely low death rate when it comes to the coronavirus.
Well, some would say it's 0. I think if you're under 40, it's 0.0001. If you're 40 or under, most of you guys, I'm guessing, are way under 40. So let me ask you this. Does Cuomo, who, by the way, I wonder if he in private calls his brother Fredo. I'm just wondering if he calls Chris Fredo. I would like to know as an Italian guy. Your last name's Italian as well. So I wonder what made him come up with that number. Why 100? Does he explain that at all? We decided the CDC told me, or the Surgeon General said, or just give me somebody who's an expert who said 100 is the number.
Right. And see, like with his policies, we never really know what he's thinking. I mean, Cuomo's thinking is all over the place when it comes to policy. So I wouldn't be surprised if, his best friend de Blasio gave him the number. So you never know with him.
I don't know. By the way, they're not best friends. I don't think he likes de Blasio, but they like each other against Trump. That's for sure. It is Jessica Custodio from campusreform.org. Go and follow her on Twitter and go follow Campus Reform as well. Go to that website every day and check out these amazing stories. A drop in the bucket. That's the quote. A UPenn student, I guess in student government. Oh, it's actually the student government did this. They're giving a whole lot of money, but only to certain students on this, again, state-funded college or university campus. What's going on here?
Right. So the UPenn student government has put aside $250,000 for Black students only. And this money isn't just, from a donor. It's not from them raising it. The money comes from a reserve fund, and the reserve fund is used for student activities, for any of those things with clubs. And so they're taking this money, and it's going to be used for the demands of the students, which include a separate safe haven, they like to call it, or a safe space, as I like to call it. And then they want to use it for a separate building. They want to use it for demands. They want to use it for all of those things.
Why? It sounds awfully simplistic, but why?
Right.
I mean, $250,000 that's meant for the betterment of all students, I would imagine, that should be used in special circumstances. Why would you ever, in a country that has something called the Civil Rights Act of 1964, where you can't make decisions according to race, why are they making a decision according to race? And what are these demands? Look, I didn't go to UPenn. I don't think I could afford it. I went to a junior college. So the idea that they're at UPenn already, they're making out pretty well in life, they've got to be handed $250,000 too?
Right. And on top of that, I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, if this was a conservative group, imagine a conservative group or even just another group of students asking for this money for a real educational purpose, it would probably get shut down,
of course,
by the school.
Yeah.
Right.
Immediately. But the fact that the person or the group is Black and they want some sort of special provision, we're saying yes to that. The Civil Rights Act literally makes this illegal. The Civil Rights Act wasn't to de-whiten society. It was to make sure that we all had a fair shake and that nobody could be discriminated against because of their race. I mean, can't white students and Hispanic students and Asian students and Native American students, can't they have a claim now saying, wait a second, you're literally discriminating against us by giving it to them? Isn't that an argument?
Right. And it's almost as if the oppression card is the best way to go with these students. And they really almost want to see how far they can push the school and how far the schools are willing to go with them. And it's almost as if they just use the race card, the oppression card, they're more than likely to get what they want.
Yeah, but they're using the oppression card to literally oppress. They're oppressing everybody else.
Right.
I'm confused. All right. It's Jessica Custodio. One last question at the SUNY University where you are in Dutchess County. What are you finding from your again, you don't get to see them every day, but what are you hearing from them about the election coming up? What are you hearing from them about COVID? Are you finding that it still is a bastion of liberalness or liberalism, so you can't really have a conversation with them? Or are people starting to go, I don't like our society the way it is right now. Maybe we shouldn't go to the side that agrees with these people rioting and who agree that we shouldn't do anything other than mail-in balloting for COVID. I mean, there's a sea change happening. What are you hearing from your contemporaries?
I mean, people really are all over the place on this. I think for the election, most young people up here are leaning towards Joe Biden, but I do have a feeling that New York, upper state New York, may have a big red wave. There are a lot of people in upstate New York that are actually more red.
Which is interesting because geographically, if you look at that state, there's a gigantic pocket of blue in New York City, obviously, and there's a pocket of blue in the Albany area. But then, I mean, the geography of the state, you would think it's a red state from 30,000 feet up. So I think that you make an interesting point. I wonder how many people in New York City who won't say so might actually lean a little bit more right than they ever did before as well. We'll have to watch that very closely. Jessica, I appreciate you taking the time. It's at JESS_CUSTODIO over on Twitter. Go follow Campus Reform as well. Appreciate you. Have a great one.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right. You're very welcome. We're back after this in the Joe Pags Show. Stay right here.